Can you tell me how you've dared and won?
Overcoming hurdles, achieving what others may have thought was impossible, to become an Olympian. I remember just watching Dame Kelly Holmes get the gold in the 800 metres, and it was that moment, a chill moment that I had as a young girl, 10 I think I was at the time, going from there thinking, oh, this is amazing, this is something that potentially I want to be one day. I wanted to be Kelly Holmes. I signed up to my local athletics club and got my head focused on becoming an Olympian. So I got the qualification time, I ticked all the boxes, finished in the positions you need to do. Got the call saying, unfortunately, one of the girls who's doing the 1500 metres actually wants to double up, which means that she'll be taking that third spot. That was a low moment. Let's not beat around the bush. That was pretty low. It wasn't until a week before the whole team were flying out to Tokyo I got a call. The girl who's supposed to be doubling at the Olympics has actually decided she's sticking to the 1500 now. So would you like to join the team out in Tokyo? I was like, yes, of course I would. So
You run 800 in what?
1 minute 57 seconds. All I ever wanted to do was become an Olympian, and that I was happy, job done, like take me home. I could get knocked out in the first round, it didn't really matter. But I think my expectations were here and my outcomes were here, and I just struggled to get back into training. I suffered with injuries after that. I was having some mental blocks of what am I getting up and grinding for in the morning? Like what is the next step? What's the next goal? And that's mentally what I really struggled with post-Olympics. But that's sport, right? That is life.
Hello and welcome to the She Who Dares Wins podcast, and my guest this week is Alex. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I
A
love
local
your place.
lass.
Look what you've done around here.
Thank you very much. All right, so I stalked you on Instagram. We have to put that out there for the folks. And you're the first Olympian on the podcast.
Feel privileged.
An elite athlete, I think. Yeah, I think you are the first. We'll take that.
Amazing.
But we'll start with the question that everyone gets, which is She Who Dares Wins. Can you tell me how you've dared and won?
I think that I have dared and won by overcoming hurdles and achieving what others may have thought was impossible, and achieving the dream that I always envisioned, and never giving up on myself by doing that.
And what was that dream?
To become an Olympian.
Nice. How young did you have that from?
So my first memory and experience of the Olympics was in a campsite in a field, setting up like a hookup, taking a TV. We had all the commodities. We had a heater. We had.
Oh my God! This was
extreme
proper
glamping before glamping became a thing.
Okay.
All for the Olympics in Athens, and I remember just watching Dame Kelly Holmes, get the gold in the 800 metres and then again in the 1500, and it was that moment where to see something, then actually realising, oh, this could actually be anybody, you know, to see that belief that she had. And it was like almost like a chill moment that I had as a young girl, like under 10 I think I was at the time. Which makes me feel really old now, by the way, 32.
You're not.
But and then just going from there thinking, oh, this is amazing, this is something that potentially I want to be one day. But growing up I did loads of different sports. I never knuckled down in athletics specifically until high school, I'd say. But yeah, I was one of them kids. I was an only child, so my mum and dad almost pushed me to make friends, and sport was the answer. Okay. And I'm so glad that they did, because I'm sat here today talking to you as an Olympian.
This morning I did a post on like manifestation, and that really ties into that of kind of seeing something and having that within your reach of something you want to do. Why do you think specifically 800 and 1500?
I wanted to be Kelly Holmes. Honestly, unless you see something, I really don't think that you know, unless you see it on the screen or you see it on a poster or, you know, it's in your face, I really don't think people understand what is out there and what is capable and your capabilities as well. And for me, it was just everything, like that picture where she's crossing the line. It was just a goosebump moment for me, and it was like a lot has gone into that. And realising that as a young age as well, that there was so much that must have gone into that moment to create those reactions and emotions. Yeah, it resonated with everybody watching in that tent that day.
Wow. So your mum and dad were super supportive?
100%, yeah. Like never pushy. There's always a borderline, I think, especially in youths, with their children going into sport. Everyone thinks the kid's going to make it. They're always like, yeah, they're going to be the next Ronaldo, they're going to be this, and that's fabulous. But I've seen so many parents along the way that overstep that mark, right, which is quite detrimental. Great to some extent, like obviously they're there at every training match or every football game or whatever it is. But I think there is a borderline of where you just have to let your kid be free and let them make the decisions and at the end of the day, it comes down to passion and love, and yeah, the root of it comes from within in the child. So yeah.
That resonates with me in that I'm a mom now, and like I grew up loving all types of sport, and it's hard when you want your kid to do a certain sport, but they're not necessarily or they lose interest in it. Yeah. But my husband reminds me of it's try as many different sports as possible 100%. And just let it play out, because eventually I think there's an age, isn't there, scientifically, where it narrows down and they know, and then they focus on
100%. Yeah,
and that can come naturally.
Yeah.
When naturally did that come for you?
I would say I signed up to my local athletics club, which was attached to my school in Farsley. And yeah, I started to get to grips with what a warm-up was. I didn't ever run to this point. I was competing, but I never trained for anything in high school until I joined the club. And they give us a bit of a regiment of like warm-up, drills, like different types of training scenarios and race, like mimicking racing with older boys and adults as well. So yeah, it gave me, starting in high school, it gave me a bit of a platform to be like, okay, this is something that we can layer up over time. But I would definitely say at high school, I never committed fully to the sport. Okay. I was very much, I've got a raw talent here, but I never pushed it. I just played on the fact that I've got a natural talent, and that'll do for now. I was running half decent times. I was coming, top 3. I was getting on the podium at local races. But getting to the back end of, like, the teenage years of where parties might become available and, and getting IDs when you shouldn't really be getting IDs. And, that's where I think the drop-off, as you mentioned, scientifically, science or not, but, that's, especially in females these days, that's where the drop-off in sport usually is, around 16 towards 18-plus mark.
But it didn't happen for you. Is that because that you still had that
I still had some passion and desire, or there was something in me that I was like, okay, I can still get by half decent by not actually doing much. But then when I actually knuckled down and got my head focused on becoming an Olympian, that wasn't actually until I graduated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you went through, because most, I would say most, this is my opinion, but not opinion, it's what I think, and it might be wrong, is that do a lot of athletes kind of do a degree if they want to, but they're already on the track to...
Yeah, so a lot of people, the trajectory, if you like, is a lot of people are becoming almost professional at a very young age. I think it's one of the sports where you could actually become a professional athlete without an elite status, and also an elite athlete without a professional contract status, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, like, for a very long time, I was performing as on an elite level. I was making GB teams without a professional contract. I was working full time. And on the flip side, there's some athletes with professional contracts who've never made a team in their life. So that is one of the conflicting things in sport at the moment. Athletics doesn't have a lot of money. Yeah. It's not a sport you go into wanting to become a millionaire from. And contracts and professional contracts are very hard to come by. It's all about stats, numbers, who's making the team, this and that. But I think that's a nice summary to summarise what athletics is and what it can be in terms of trying to make money. Yeah.
Is the system slightly broken then, in that I've been following a runner on TikTok who has a big social media following, and I think has always been a runner. And I was confused now they've been signed up and they're doing certain runs and certain things, but I don't know whether that's from like a social media perspective, or whether it, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a bit confusing.
Influence. Yeah, of course. And that's what annoys me as a professional athlete, is people, because of their following, not necessarily their background or their profession in the sport, can gain more money than the actual professional doing the sport itself. And the wealth of knowledge that we have as a professional is, why don't you come to us for advice, or why don't you come to us for the coaching plans? Almost, it's social media at the end of the day that's great. So many positives to social media, but also that's sometimes the negative from a professional athlete point of view. Yeah,
it's changing the game, isn't it? Because 100%. You'll get athletes that aren't necessarily, they don't want to, I think it's like a lot of professions, you first off is you want to be a runner. You might not necessarily want to be a social media person.
Yeah.
You might not, it might not interest you.
Yeah.
And therefore, there is a bit of an injustice in it, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said to you before, it wasn't until I was about 27, I signed my first professional contract.
Wow, okay.
My kit deal.
But you'd been running.
But I'd been running, making teams, running these unbelievable times up to that point, making Commonwealth Games teams, finalists, Europeans. Yeah. So,
and is this all done off your own financial backing then?
Yeah, and obviously a supportive family as well. So yeah, like I said, I was working full time. I was working at a famous shoe shop down in Leeds. Worked there for 7 years. Absolutely loved the team. It was almost like family orientated. Was there from the day one that the shop opened, and I loved it. I loved everything that I did about it. Selling shoes, yeah, just sounds like you're selling shoes. But with my background, I sold shoes. You know, like I knew what I was talking about. Okay. My very first pair of running shoes when I was probably about 12 or 13 was going down to the local shop, and I got sold some sprint spikes. Okay. Bearing in mind, I told them I was a middle distance runner. So yeah, I was like, I am not letting anybody walk out of this store with something that they don't need just for a commission purpose or anything like that. But yeah, I loved that. I worked all the way through. I actually took time off work. I had holiday that I put in so I could go to the Olympics for that. Okay. And then when I came back from the Olympics, I said, I need to go back to work. I actually went back and sold shoes again after that.
This is mad, isn't it? Because you watch the Olympics or any sporting event, and again, it's an assumption. I assume that, you go back and you've got sponsors and this is your job and this is funding. And for a lot of athletes, this is not the case.
No, it's a struggle. It really is. And like I said, I go back to saying, you do not get into athletics unless you. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, I think that's where the grit comes from as well. Like the hard work you've put in, and obviously juggling with work and having the support as well. I think whether you're a sports person or not, whatever dream it is you've got or profession that you're in, the support network around you, you can't do it without somebody else, I don't believe. Yeah. You can get to, so far, there's an extent where you can get to, but support, whether that's emotional or financial, it takes a team. I 100% believe that. My sport is an individual sport. Yeah. I'm the only one who stands on that start line, but to get me to that start line, it took a whole bunch of people to do that.
Yeah, it makes it so much more, not that it wasn't credible, but it really does, like you say, people don't see what's necessarily behind it. And the mental struggle that I imagine comes with that as well is, financial worries happen to most people throughout their life. And when you want to focus on something where I imagine you have to have intense focus on, like every part of your training, and to have that kind of looming over you as well is an extra... I think anyone that competes at elite level, you've really got to be focused mentally, haven't you?
100%. And that's the one thing I worked on a great deal, to be honest with you, on the lead up to the Olympics. I worked with a psychologist, and I was so hesitant to do that at first. I think it took me about 3 sessions for me to actually break one layer of my wall down, if you like, construction there.
I like how you did that.
And I think it took me, a few sessions to get through that and break down them barriers, and then just realise, every person on that start line is going through physically the same thing. There's not many different sessions that that these girls are doing to get the outcome and the times that we're running. The one thing that's going to determine if you're on a team or you win or you lose is what goes on in the mind. Right. And that was like a light bulb moment for me. And it's not something that you can just be like the night before a race, right? I'm going to just get in the zone. Yeah. Let's do some quotes. Let's listen to some music. Like, this is going to get me through. It's never going to be like that. It has to build over time. It's like part of your training regime. As much physical as you put in, mentally as well.
I was going to say, would you rate that, if I had a card now for you, would you rate that as like 50-50, or would you push the mental bit more?
I'd say me now, today, doing what I'm doing, I'd say it's more 50-50. Okay. But going up into the Olympics, I would definitely say that was a lot of more 75, if I'm honest with you, 70 maybe, which is massive in the terms of...
So you could have the most amazing runner, but if doubt starts to creep in on that start line, anxiety, somebody who's not as fast ability-wise could still beat them because 100%.
It's all in the mind. It's an illusion.
Yeah. And you haven't got long, have you? I mean, you run 800 in what? Like, what's your best?
1 minute 57 seconds.
I'm barely getting out the bath.
Yeah, which was in Tokyo. Funny enough, it's still to this day like the 7th fastest ever that a Brit, ever competed over that distance.
Amazing.
But yeah, it's there's a lot goes into it. Not just what you see on the TV screen every 4 years. Yeah, there's 4 years of hard work, but so much more to it, peaks and troughs. But that's sport, right? That is life, hey?
Yeah, and that's what sets the elite apart from the novice.
But I think going into like normal work and normal jobs, if you like, like your standard 9 to 5, I wouldn't class being a professional athlete as like a typical normal job. It's a bizarre job. Like, compared to what my husband does, he's like, this isn't work for you. Like, it shouldn't be work, and it's not. I don't see it as work at all. But yeah, it's fun. I love what I do, and I think I can take a lot from what I've achieved in sport into other avenues in life as well, which is super important. I retired from the track last year, and yeah, I was done with athletics. I was done with running. I washed my hands. I just thought I'd hit my peak, and I mentally struggled for the last 3 years coming back from Tokyo because I actually exceeded my expectations. Yes, I wanted to be an Olympian, but I never thought I'd make it through the heat. I never thought I'd make it through the semi-final. I never thought I'd get to the final and run that time. All I ever wanted to do was become an Olympian, and that I was happy, job done, like, take me home. I could get knocked out in the first round. It didn't really matter. But I think my expectations were here and my outcomes were here, and I just struggled to get back on the wagon, if you like, back into training. I suffered with injuries after that, and I was having some mental blocks of what am I getting up and grinding for in the morning? Like, what is the next step? What's the next goal? And that's mentally what I really struggled with post-Olympics. Just because I ran out of targets. I didn't have anything planned for that next step.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because most people probably wouldn't supersede what they set out for, but doing that made you have a little bit of a wobble and then
breakdown. 100%. Yeah, it was a really tough time, tough 3 years. Hated the sport, hated who I was becoming.
Oh, really?
Honestly, yeah.
So at the peak,
it was on the downfall. So even though I achieved and accomplished, I think because I never set in sight something else, soon after the Olympics, I think that's what I struggled with. Purpose. What are you without becoming an Olympian or a runner or an athlete or whatever you want to call yourself? And yeah, I struggled through for another 3 years. I was contracted with another sponsor at that point, so I kind of felt not trapped, but like I was in a contract, so this was my job, this is what I'm getting paid to do. Let's do these next 3 years. And with that, obviously, I said I had some injuries. I had a lot of Achilles issues, and it was just stop-start. I couldn't get any momentum going. And it was just a slog. I just hated what I was doing. I was stepping on a start line thinking, 1, I'm not prepped for this. 2, I don't want to be here. 3, I could be going making so much more money elsewhere doing something else, God knows what. But again, you don't see it. You just see you starting on a start line and thinking, right, she has to run 2 laps. How easy is that?
So you actually fall out of love with running?
And myself, yeah. I hated it. I was just like, what are we doing?
What was the turning point then? What got you back on?
So my contract ended. I made the decision last year. Well, I probably mentally already made the decision the year before that last year was going to be the final year on the circuit. I took some time off, enjoyed myself a little bit, and then an opportunity came up to work for the Youth Sport Trust, actually. A fellow athlete of mine, it was in my very last competition that I did in the last year, and she recommended to me, look, there's this awesome charity, Youth Sport Trust. There's this awesome role that she does. It's very casual. You can work as and when you need, and you're helping kids in deprived areas, and you're a mentor to them. So I go into schools in deprived areas, mainly up in the northeast, and basically go and tell them about your experiences. They're not necessarily into sport. They're not sporty kids as such that I work with, but we try and get across the skills that we learn on our journeys in sport and try and apply it to everyday life to them that's relatable to these. So they're not necessarily going to be kids who are going to maybe get their GCSEs as such or qualifications, but we build confidence with them, resilience with them, and create almost like this portfolio so they can go into a job interview and say, this is an example of how I've used A, B, C, D. This is my mentor. This is, and it's so rewarding. I love it.
And
I feel that's my purpose again
Yeah,
now.
you feel like you've come back to... But equally, discussing the fact that you said there's so much behind running that people don't see, it's all those things now that you are getting to pass back
100%.
to...
100%. I always believe there is some beauty in the struggle, regardless of whatever it is. Might not see it at the time. It might take you to come out of the struggle to look back and reflect.
Yeah.
But on that reflection, there's so much beauty in it, and as much pain and hurt and upsets and knuckles that you might have from, beating yourself on the wall up, if you like, I wouldn't change any of that for the world.
No.
100%.
And the experiences that you went through, I've got to ask you, what was it like when you were in the stadium on the start line for that final in Tokyo? Like, was there anything, I know there's so much leading up to it that you prepped for it, but the crowds...
There was no crowd.
Was there? Oh, of course there wasn't.
No, I can't go into detail on that, I'm afraid.
Oh, yeah.
But I was so in the zone, it wouldn't have mattered anyway if there was a crowd there or not. There was a few people, but only who were allowed to be there because of COVID. Yeah. So it was an experience in itself.
Do you think that attributed to falling out of love with it?
No, not at all.
No.
Honestly, I had the best time in Tokyo. I originally shouldn't have been in the team for Tokyo. Okay. So I got the qualification time. I ran the standard that you needed to do. I ticked all the boxes, finished in the positions you need to do. Got the call saying, unfortunately, I finished in the 3rd spot in the trial. Unfortunately, one of the girls who's doing the 1,500 metres actually wants to double up and do the 8 and 15 double at the Olympics, which means she'll be taking that 3rd spot, which was my spot.
But was your spot for the 800 faster than her spot, or does it not work like that?
They didn't do it at the trial. The outline was whatever event that you wanted to do specifically at the Olympics, you had to do at the trial. But nobody knew at that point that there was the option to double.
That's unfair.
Well, it was. Yeah, that was a low moment. Let's not beat around the bush. That was pretty low because I was like, what the hell? Like, what else have I got to do? I was literally running the fastest times I'd ever ran. I was peaking all for this event. Obviously sacrificed so much, was working. My family sacrificed so much, and I was like, now I really am a failure. Like all the downfalls that have happened on the lead up to this, all the teams that we got knocked out of and whatever else, like it was all supposed to be for this moment.
What a kick in the teeth, yeah.
And you just think, well, yeah, I'm definitely retiring now sort of thing. Like this is all I ever wanted to be. So I had a bit of a random week where I ended up getting a tattoo, like saying persevere, because I thought, well, if I was going to go to the Olympics, I was going to get the tattoo anyway. So what is a tattoo at the end of the day? I ended up getting COVID and well, I didn't get COVID, but I got notified that someone around me had got COVID at that time. So apparently I was on lockdown. Ended up getting parking tickets, speeding tickets, all like within this one day of this phone call that I got as well. So I was like, wow, I went mad. I went on a mad one. And then it wasn't until a week before the whole team were flying out to Tokyo, I got a call. The girl who's supposed to be doubling at the Olympics has actually decided she's just sticking to the 1,500 now. So would you like to join the team out in Tokyo? I was like, yes, of course I would. So I didn't have any kit. All the kit had already been shipped out. I had to travel all around the UK to go and get 2 COVID jabs because it was super strict out in Japan. Like,
I remember,
super strict. Like, rightly so. I mean, that was the only way the games were going to go ahead. But I remember calling my friend, he's a shot putter, and he had some spare kit, and I was like, please, can I borrow just a T-shirt or something? And I had this massive T-shirt that almost looked like a dress, and I was like, I don't actually care what I look like, I am going to the Olympics, just get me there.
So you didn't have the excitement of when they get the bag where it's got all
and they all got a bonsai tree as well at the trials, and I was so annoyed at that, because it was like the 3rd position was discretionary, so it wasn't, until that next day when they made the decisions, like in the boardroom. Yeah. I didn't know. So I'm like, all I wanted was a bonsai tree. But it don't matter, I'm an Olympian now, it's fine.
Yeah, you'll take that as a second.
Which, that is the reason why, when you said, was that the reason why, you fell out of love? No, it wasn't. That's actually the reason why I fell back in love with the sport at that moment in time, because every round I got quicker and quicker going into the final. Every round I was running free. I felt free because it was like, this was the ultimate dream. There's been people in the past within athletics who've said I'd never make it to the top of my sport. They told me that I'll be too old to make it in the sport. And then I've had others that have told me that I don't have the medal mentality to make it in the sport. So I've had so many negative people within athletics,
Right.
the people who are making these decisions, saying that it'd be like impossible to do, you'd never do it.
Well, people actually say this shit.
The people who select the teams, yeah.
Is
So
it
they
still...
don't go off stats, they don't go off figures, they don't go off numbers. The whole bulk of it, it comes down to their this is how it's worded, their professional opinions. So opinions aren't facts, right?
Right.
So one person's opinion of you, if you've pissed someone off,
Yeah.
that's it. You're like blacklit, like, and that's what happened to me on my story.
Yeah.
All my successes and all the teams I've made have come from setbacks and like second chances, I like to call them. All the opportunities that I've had have come from second chances, and every second chance that I've had, I've grabbed it with both hands and absolutely smashed it out of the park.
So you really have had to prove yourself
Yeah.
in areas where you really didn't need to, because if
Yeah.
you looked at it from a stats point of view, it's a rite of passage.
Yeah. And the thing is that if people are listening to this who are not really aware of athletics, I mean, there's still people in athletics who are still not aware of this because it's never happened to them. They've never got on teams to realise this goes on behind closed doors. Yeah,
right.
there is a system, some weird system. But people listening who have no idea of athletics might think, oh, she didn't make the team, she was moaning this, moaning that. Like, I don't want it ever to come across as bitter. Like,
No.
I will have a chip on my shoulder with it, but like I said, I don't regret any of the, the signposts, the lampposts to get to where I ended, I suppose. But yeah, people from the outside won't necessarily know what goes on. They just see it, like I say, on the TV screen.
There's dark corners of every
Organisation.
sport and organisation. And I had on a couple of weeks ago, Joanna Wilson, and her brother is Niall Wilson, and she talked about, the dark side of gymnastics, in that you're always ranked as a 10, and then you have to always be perfect, and you come down from that, and how that has a mental impact on, young girls that are starting out in this sport, that if you're anything less than perfect, and I never thought of it like that. I was like, I just thought that was the system. And it's good now that people like yourselves are freely exposing that. Like you say, it's not for wanting to burn down the system as such, but it's making a positive change
100%.
for something that you've been affected by. It is fascinating,
Yeah.
but it also shows how much of a resilient character you are.
Yeah, and I think a lot of my fastest times and, some of my best performances have come off the back of responding to those.
Has it been a little bit of a fuck you?
Yeah, it really has. And yeah, that's not solely down to, what I wanted to be or what my outcomes as such, but it definitely helped. And I don't think that's the route for everybody. Like, I don't think many people could do that. It would have mentally broke a lot of people, before you even get to that start line as such. But it definitely added fuel to the fire. And I definitely love being the underdog, and I definitely love trying to prove people wrong, but equally prove yourself right as well at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think, on more than one occasion, I know I did that.
And now the sense of purpose has shifted slightly in when you're helping kids through the Youth Sport Trust. I should know that because my husband works alongside them and does this research, and he's always mentioning how great they are.
Oh, yeah, they are. They're really good.
But from a sport point of view, are you still running?
Yes.
You've switched now, right?
Yeah, I found a new love. I'm back on it. It's not left me, it's in my blood.
It's in your blood. What's the new love?
I crazily now want to do one of the longest distances that you possibly can.
Okay.
So not just yet, I'm on the build, so obviously going from an 800 metre to maybe potentially the marathon, dare I say.
Okay.
But going from 30, 35 mile a week on average for the 800 metre training, I've now doubled that to 70 miles. And my goal and purpose now is to try and get my hands on another GB vest, but on the roads. So I want to be one of the athletes who, not many athletes in an 800 metre, like in the 800 metre world of running, would necessarily go that far. It's usually you're a 400 metre 800 or an 800 1500 metre runner.
Yeah.
But I want to skip all the track. I want to skip all that nonsense, and I just want to go straight up. And I'm excited. I found something fresh, found something new. I've got no pressure. Met so many lovely people. Like, it's a completely different system on the roads. It's welcoming. Like, there's something for everybody. The crowds, like, I did the Great Manchester Run
a
few weeks ago, and like the crowd, they have personality on the roads. Like you go to a stadium sometimes and it could be completely empty and it's like you've just ran a world-class time and everyone's just like, woo, next race, like move on. Honestly, the guys in Manchester the other week were unbelievable, and yeah, there's so much support there, and yeah, and a lot of people have been interested in this transition because it's quite rare. It's not heard of usually, especially in the UK. I can't tell you the last 800 metre runner who's
then gone on to
dared to say they're going to become a marathon runner. But yeah, I'm very welcoming of this new me, if you like. I like myself again. I love what I'm doing. It's a completely different approach. I'm learning new things, and I think that's what's become so relatable to me and just a runner, if you like, as opposed to a professional runner. Because yes, I've still got a professional contract. I've got a professional status from the track. I've been, one of the fastest 800 metre girls going, but people are seeing that I'm not here to say I'm going to make it. I'm not here to say, like, I know what I'm doing on the roads. I'm here to be real and authentic about it, and it might go well, great. Come along and share that journey and experience, but I might get some things wrong as well, but hey,
life,
we're all
right?
human, it's life, and you tell me what I need to do. Like, people are loving it and buying into it, and are excited as I am to see where it's actually going to go.
It's amazing. I love that you've now got this new sense of purpose for like long distance running.
Yeah.
You must be crackers because
I think I am.
I did Leeds Marathon not this year, last year, and I would say as a complete novice, the crowds are amazing. Yeah. So I get what you say about, obviously I've never run in a stadium, but I get what the environment is incredible, and that can be a huge thing, can't it, to push you on when you're out there.
But yeah, like I said, there's no heroics. Everyone's there to start and finish, and it's everyone respects the distance and respects the work that you've put in, and I 100% respect the guys who do the marathon training, especially like I have up at Leeds Beckett where I train. There's a few Olympians there, let's say, who are training day in, day out and doing these massive sessions, and I watch them and I think that is inspiring stuff. Like that is something that I aspire to be. And yeah, when you see the grind daily, you appreciate it, you respect it, and again, it's seeing something and believing it and wanting to be it. Coming back to the Kelly Holmes. Yeah, I've seen these guys, and that's something that I want to do now.
Who's the role model on the side of the long distance now? Because Kelly was the short. What's the?
Do you know what? No one celebrity as such. Mm-hmm. I think I have the utmost respect for anyone who's holding down a full-time job, anyone who's got kids, anyone who's got a family, anyone who's got any other element in their life and is still able to go and smash the goals on a road somewhere. Because I know how hard it is, and I barely work as such, you know what I mean? So to understand that you've got so much more going on, and I've just got to focus on running as such. Anybody who's holding down a full-time job and then still managing to, get the running shoes on and get themselves out the door and clock the miles they need to do to get into that next race, they're the inspiration to me.
Because it's huge, isn't it? That was the biggest shock for me, is when people said the marathon's not the hardest thing, it's the training. And it was going out in January to do the Leeds, which was in May, and starting then the dark nights. But then it's for me, because I'm not a fast runner, it was the 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 hours on a Sunday of those long runs. But I mean, what are you running for training wise? What are you running a week?
So I'm getting up to 70 miles now, and it's that in terms of marathon running. Yeah, that's quite minimal. Not like to other people. So some of the guys who I train with, they're on 110, 100 miles week in, week out.
Wow.
But I'm not aspiring to be I want to run these so many miles. I don't want to do that because I'm not sure how my body's going to fix up. But 70 miles is enough for me right now for the next phase that I'm doing. I've got a few 10Ks coming up. I've got a few 5Ks, and I'm aiming to do my first half marathon October time. Nice. Marathon potentially next year or back the start of the year after, if that makes sense. But we're not rushing anything. We're working through the distances. From
an elite point of view, where does that take you marathon wise, in terms of, do you pick the one that you would, if you were going to do one? I don't want to put you in a position where you're I'm going to do this, and you're I'm committed to it. But is London the main focus for most people?
London's usually like one of the trial races. So if you want to make a team, that's usually for the British side, like the British
you do London.
perspective. Yeah, normally that is usually like the British trial, if you like. I think London would be awesome to do just because of the crowds, if I'm honest with you. But in terms of trying to run as fast as I possibly can, Valencia is known as one of the fastest ones.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so I'd probably target one of the... If I'm going to do one, I want to make it a good one, and I want to make it a fast one.
Don't do Leeds, because that's got that massive hill in it.
Yeah, when you said that, I'm like, why? You're the cracker one. You're the one who's...
Coming up from Otley, I was like, this is not fun.
No,
like, who put this stupid hill in a...
There's no other marathon, I don't think, with hills like that.
No, which is crazy.
You picked the worst one.
Yeah, I know, picked the worst one. Well, I was only going to... It was a one and done. So I feel like, and I was never going to do it for time. Although there's this part of me now that like watches other people do it, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could be faster.
But surely there's a part of you now that thinks, all right, if Leeds is the worst ever one, surely the next one I do is going to feel so much better with no hills.
Yeah, and you know what? Leeds was really hot.
Yeah.
And I know London was this year, because I had a friend, my neighbour, she ran London, and it was it's like literally marathon day comes around and the sun goes, whoop, we're coming out.
I know, it affected a lot of people this year, more than the people would expect. I mean, you think of it only as a few degrees warmer, but
it makes a massive difference.
Honestly, I think a lot of people who I know, it just didn't work out that great.
Yeah, and they struggle with it. Yeah.
You should wait all year, you know.
For the one day. Yeah. But there could be, and I think this is, you know, you'll know this with running, is like it's injuries, that you could get an injury 2 weeks before. I think I had the flu a month before, and then I had a chest infection 3 weeks before. And I remember going to the doctor, and she was great. She was like, I'm going to give you everything to make sure you do this marathon. And I was kind of thinking, oh no, this is my cop out. And she gave me she was like, I know you're not asthmatic, but I'm going to give you steroids.
Good job you weren't drug tested.
I know,
Imagine if they pulled you at the end.
Maybe I had an advantage of I definitely didn't have it. And if I did have an advantage, it never showed. But yeah, you're right. And I think it does give you a bug. Like, as growing up as a kid, I was always a sprinter. And I say that very loosely. I was not amazing. But I always loved the 100 metre. And I'm an impatient person, but I was always like, I just love that immediate sprint. Yeah. And I had a mate who had legs up to her armpits who ran the 800, and her game was the 800. And I was like, I was like, I don't know how you can do that. And she was like, it's not that much further. And I was like, it is so much more further. It's 8 times further. And then me trying the long run was just like, that for me, which is why I did it, was the biggest challenge ever. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it will pique my interest to do it.
But that's the beauty of the long distance, though, I find, compared to my 800 training, is 800 metre as an athlete last year and the years prior to that was you want results here and now. Okay, lactic sessions, if you mess that lactic session up, that session's a goner. You can't salvage that, you can't come back from that. Whereas the beauty in the distance running is you have got some time. You have got time to progress. You have got time to feel good. You've also got time to feel not so good, but then to come back out and feel great again in the same session.
Okay, right.
But the downfall to it that I'm finding is with 800, well, I'll go with the 800 metre running first, is if you have a bad race, another race in that week of an 800 metre is not going to affect you. You can go, recover, race again, race again, race again.
Right.
Distance running, that's the downfall I'm finding, is I am putting things in my calendar and I'm trying to peak for them, and the distance between the races now is so much more of a gap, and for the recovery and, you know, to then taper off again, that I'm finding illness maybe in the times that the extension of time that you wouldn't have compared to the 800 metre run, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally.
So my short-term aim, the goals that I like to have, is now I just want to race a lot more. So I'm doing a few more 5Ks coming up, trying to get some racing stints in the calendar, if you like, and just use it as like a block, if you like. Yeah. Just so, you know, we don't open ourselves up to any illnesses, or because it's natural, right? We're always in the public, we're always shopping, or it's life, it's going to happen, but sometimes it happens at the most unfortunate times. Yeah, it sucks. But then also it happens when you're at your peak performance as well, peak fitness. So take that as a good sign when you got ill. Yeah, like you're the most vulnerable, and that's when your immune system attacks. That's when you could be attacked. Yeah, because you're using everything. Bit of every bit of that. But yeah, that's the two comparisons I've got, is like the here and now for the 800, can get over it quickly, and the longevity that we're trying to maintain and develop in the distance side of things, it's trying to get the balance right.
The juggle.
But it's good, it's all fun, and
Yeah.
every rep I do now, even though it's like really long, I'm like, the mental side and the mental things I say to myself in my head, I'm like, you've asked for this. Like, you can stop at any time, that's fine, but you have actually asked for this, and that just keeps me going.
I love this, because this is, you've got two parts really, haven't you? You've got the amazing achievements that you've already done, and then this new chapter now, which we were talking about just before the pod started, about kind of not reinventing yourself because you're still within the same field, but it is a massive change, and I think people are frightened. There's lots of people that could have been in your position that would have just, put the shoes in the shoebox and hung them up quite literally. And you haven't, and I think that shows other people that it's okay to pivot, it's okay to have these changes and find a new purpose and a new love, still within running.
Yeah, and the fact if you have like even just the tiniest of like flame inside, I like to see it as, I'm quite visual when I talk about like the mental side of things, but like I see it as like if anyone's got a flicker of light or a glimmer of light in there that's, making them think or giving them itchy feet to do something, then that is enough to go and do it, whatever it is that you've got in there or in your mind or in your desire to do.
Amazing. Well, I'm excited to see what comes next.
When we're going on our training run.
Yeah?
I'm going to get you signed up for the next race, and we'll get on the canal.
Oh, good Lord, because you're literally down the road from me.
Exactly.
And you have most undoubtedly run past me at some point, like, because you're constantly running, aren't you?
I'm always on there.
Yeah, if that's your route. And
we're actually moving house, in the middle of moving house at the minute. We live on the canal in up Appley Bridge, and we're just moving about 300 metres down the road in Appley Bridge, and we're closer than ever to the canal as well, so it's more of an excuse to be on there even more than I already am. That was my
run, was up from Horsforth to Yeadon, and then
that sounds hilly.
It was horrible. Onto the canal, and then all the way into Leeds, into Kirkstall, and then back up to, which is also like uphill. And there's parts of that route now where if I walk, I'm like, this is where I had that gel that made my stomach turn, this is, it's good. It's you've planted a seed now, and I feel
I can see the toes are tapping there. She's like, maybe I'll get a run in today.
Do you know what the biggest? I'm just checking time. Do you know what my biggest issue was? And this is where your experience will come in. Was trainers.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so I had a knackered old, we're going to segue here, a knackered old pair of Night Pegasus.
Yep.
But I loved them. And I trained in them. And then I went and I tried Saucony. It was like, not quite working for me. And then Classic Runner, I was like, I can shave. And this is ridiculous, right? When you think that you're better than you are and you buy the Nike Vapor, whatever, that shave seconds off elite athletes, not necessarily, and I hate them. And they caused me all sorts of trouble. And in the end, someone just said to me, they were like, just running what you've always been, like, just running them. It doesn't matter what, just running those trainers. And I remember thinking, I've gone through probably about £300 to £400 worth of different and even now, I got rid of the Vaporfly because someone online from Vinted took them, and I didn't lose that much money. But the others did. And I'm like, there can't be that many accessories to running that you get kind of drawn into buying. But I did. And I feel like with the running, I could definitely get drawn into. I think when I finished the marathon, I was like, right, maybe getting faster at a shorter distance might be.
Yeah, but the shoes is such a big, like, it's such an importance, like, you know, I mean, not for everyday runs, I wouldn't say go into, like, carbons. I just save my carbons for race day or on days where my legs need that little boost. But so many more injuries are becoming, just a constant for people now, and they're wondering why. They're like, why? I'm paying this much for some shoes. It can't be the shoes, but you're using your feet, and you can't, like, the mechanisms are so different because you're planting your foot different. You're not doing as much work as such. And this is having an onset later on down the line of other issues for people because they're just becoming so reliable on them that they think that they can't do a session without carbon shoes because the time will fluctuate so much.
Oh,
but
wow.
I see that as an advantage of running in your Pegasus. Go and run in your shoes, because
then you'd get faster.
then you think, oh, imagine how much quicker on race day I would be with my fresh pair of shoes, with a fresh pair of legs. So then I always think, right, well, there we go, we're good. Like, think of the advantage I've got later on down the line.
Yes, the knowledge, isn't it?
But
There's a famous, not famous, but there's a shoe shop that you probably know in Headingley. And when I went in there, the guy was like, well, you're running in a 5.5 and you should be running in a 6. So that helped.
Yep.
So they sorted me out with a pair.
So you don't even know your shoe size. That would really help.
I think in fairness to me, post-pregnancy, your feet get bigger.
Right.
This is apparently a thing.
Okay.
And so, I was running a 5.5 and he was like, no, you need to be running in a 6. So that helped massively by actually running the right. I think it saved a few toenails.
It's a few quid as well, to
Yeah,
be fair.
yeah,
Buy
definitely.
your expensive ones then.
Yeah. But it's all this kind of knowledge and things that I got into, and then there's trying all the gels, and it was.
But it's like my dad used to say when he used to go to the good old JJB Sports. Do you remember?
Yeah.
For PE, I'd go and pick my PE. He's like, it's the person in the shoes that does it, not the shoes itself. So, if you want to save a few quid, just go with that mantra.
Yeah, your dad knows well. You've got to listen to these old folks, haven't you? They know their stuff.
He just wanted me to get the cheapest shoes, let's be honest.
The black plimp soles where you literally have no air ability to run in.
100%.
All right, well, I'll take that as a dare then for me then to sign back. And my mate will be she got me through the marathon, and she'll be really appreciative of that because she's desperate to get out running again.
No, I really hope you do. I really hope I can be the influence that you need in your life right now with this, honestly, because it will change your life. It'll change your mental state, and
it did. That was the biggest thing.
Different people that you come across, and it's nice weather at the minute, so there's no...
Get out and run.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll see you on the canal.
You'll see me on the canal. And just before we wrap up, is there anything that you would dare other women to do?
I would dare other women to not listen to nonsense on the outside, and just really listen to that inner voice, because in the industry that I'm from, there's a lot of men who will say no, or you can't do this, you can't do that, and to be your own biggest friend and biggest cheerleader, I think that's the most important thing, and just to back and own everything that you say and do. Have the courage to do that.
Amazing. Well, thank you for being who you are and doing what you do. You've been incredible, and thanks for coming and chatting to me.
Thank you so much for having me, honestly. I'll see you on the canal soon.
You'll see me on the canal.